Well, hello, everybody. I'm Irene De Jesus.
And I'm Hector De Jesus.
And we are the De Jesus Law Group. And we're here live with you tonight doing this Facebook event with two really good friends of ours. We'll be introducing them shortly, but we're really here to talk to you about, if you're an entrepreneur and you're finding yourself just starting out, or you've only been doing it for maybe a year or two, what are some of the things that we think you really need to know, right, for you to be successful? And with that in mind, with that premise in mind, that's where we really decided to have these two special guests on. And one of them is Ann Stevenson. So Hector, would you do your magic and bring Ann on?
Hi, guys.
Yes, there she is. All right. Our audience should be very familiar with Ann Stevenson. I personally have a girl crush on Ann, and I'm not embarrassed to say that I do. Ann, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us who you are again? Well, not us, our audience.
Well, hello. My name's Ann Stevenson. I am a CPA. I am located in downtown DeLand, and I specialize in small to medium-sized businesses, a lot of hand-holding, watching people grow, helping them with all their tax reduction strategies, and getting them in place with the proper team to make sure they're successful.
Yep. And so Hector and I, we, over the time that we've known Ann, we actually refer a lot of our clients to her. The other guest that we have, do you want to introduce him? He's amazing.
Yep. It's Bart Schott, and he's a business broker, business coach, just an entrepreneur, and just extremely knowledgeable, and really gets how to grow a business and such. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot him in.
Yep.
Hey, how's everybody?
It's so good to see you, Bart.
Great to see you.
You're just a man of wisdom. Like, we adore you and the knowledge that you bring to your clients and ours, because we have a lot of mutual clients together. It's really proud. I love what you do. So tonight we're all just going to get together, and we've got a basic format we're going to follow, but we're really here. Our target audience tonight is those entrepreneurs that, for whatever reason, they're finding themselves starting a new business. Ann, I remember you saying to us a little while ago that the numbers you're seeing on sunbiz.org for new businesses starting has just been like off the charts. Do you want to talk on that for a minute?
Off the chart. And what I'm finding with a lot of my initial consultations is, due to COVID, people are making other choices. They are stepping out there. They're doing their side gigs. They're thinking about leaving the corporate world and reaching out and following a dream. And they just look for guidance. They have a great idea, but there's not a business 101 course that they have. So they come to me and I get them started.
Yeah, that brings up a really good point. So if you are one of those folks, you're listening in now, and you have found that either you're a corporate refugee, right? Or you are somebody that's just decided, this is the perfect time for me to branch out and really do my passion. What I'd love for you guys to all do tonight, so for the audience that's listening in, we really want this to be interactive. This is your chance. Right. You've got 4 experts here in business that we want to hear your questions. So get into that chat box, get into that comment box, and put your questions in. You're also going to hear us say throughout the night that if you do want to get more information from us, one of the ways to do that is when she's our producer, she will have in the comment box, she's going to have links in there. One of those links is going to be a free downloadable guide for business owners to help them avoid one of the 11 most common legal mistakes that they do. So there's free stuff for you guys here. And I know Ann and Bart have also got great knowledge for you as well. So interact with us often in that chat box. Wynn will get us all the questions that you put in there. And then between all four of us, we will get those answered throughout the evening. So with that, Bart, so we heard from Ann. We know that she's seeing as a CPA these astronomical numbers of people starting businesses new, right, in 2020 and going into 2021. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing really much the same. We're really busy getting a lot of calls from, we talk about the corporate refugee, maybe somebody that through COVID or some other experiences, either in between jobs or looking to maybe expand through a side hustle, or those that have done well with their investments and saying, hey, I'd like to expand and look at my future by going into business for myself and leaving the corporate job. And even business owners that have businesses that are looking to expand by getting another business. So like the market seems to be really on fire right now, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And then, so just FYI to everybody, part of this whole pandemic piece, you're going to hear our dogs.
They're excited. And they heard Bart was on, they're like, I'm Bart.
Oh, Bart and Ann. But that's part of our new universe, right? It's part of our new world, guys. And I think maybe that too might have a little bit to do with all of these businesses starting, because the threshold of entry is much lower now, right? You can do it from home.
Yeah, I would even say that people are getting a taste of that more independence, more flexibility, which are, some of the key factors that people are looking at when they're looking at going to business for themselves. Maybe they were always in an office and now they get to work from home. They get that flexibility. They get to see what that feels like. And it's like, man, I don't want this to go away just because I want COVID to go away. I don't want this feeling of freedom to go away, right?
Yeah, so I was going to follow up on that, Bart, because, it's two different worlds now, from before the business ventures and starting business before to now, in this reality of, virtual, semi-virtual, and there's just a lot of changes. But I was going to ask you, what are some of the tips you would give someone that's starting out on a business? What should they be focusing on?
Yeah, from your perspective, Bart, and then Ann
is a follow-up on that.
We're going to want to know from you too.
Yeah, I would say, always look to some experts. I think for most of the people that I work with, the inclination to get into business for themselves is strong. This entrepreneurial spirit that says, I want to go into business for myself. And then they maybe get intimidated or get fearful because they don't understand the steps. And that's why I always say, hey, it's good to talk to experts. You need to talk to legal. You need to talk to a CPA, so that as you're setting your business up and as you're going into business, you kind of know what you're shooting for. And these experts or a business advisor like myself, we can kind of take the fear out of it. We can take more of the risk out of it, because the entrepreneurial thing is risky enough as it is without making mistakes that could be prevented, right, by a CPA, by an attorney or whatnot. So that's generally where we start.
Excellent. And so what do you, when you're talking to this group of folks, what are some of your basic points?
Well, what I do is I have a checklist for starting a business, and it's very basic. It goes down to the point of, number one is consult with an expert, whether it be a business consultant, an attorney, or a CPA. And then I also say you should talk to all three before jumping in. And it's very user friendly, all the way to the point of what kind of entity do you want, or would be best for you as far as risk and cost and liability and the tax benefits. The second thing, just making sure they get the right licensing, occupational licenses, little things like keeping business personal separated from business, things that the IRS is looking for, county tax returns, sales tax, all the scary stuff that nobody really knows what they're doing when they jump into, I want to start my own business, but there are filing requirements and compliance requirements, let alone tax planning and reducing taxes. So I just try to guide them and show them the different scenarios so that they can make a decision that's right for what they're wanting to do.
Okay, so I really like that. Before we jump into the specific details, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to just step back for a second and get this bigger global view of, and I'd like to go to Bart on this one. Bart, what are you seeing are the different options? So say we've got, like we said, a corporate refugee, right? And they're deciding they want some more flexibility. They're enjoying, to an extent, this flexibility that they've seen. What are some of the options, Bart, that they have to pursue?
Well, it's really finite, and that's where when they start to get overwhelmed, I'm like, it's really pretty simple. It's really some finite options. One is, you could consider going back into the industry you came from with another company. If you're sitting on the sideline, that's obvious. So let's park that aside. And then really there's only three options if you're going to go into business for yourself. You can start from scratch, right? And you can, if you've got a product, a service, an idea, it may be a cost-effective way to go into it, but there's also some downsides. While it may save you some money, if you don't have a customer base, if you don't have employees, if you don't have a brand, so we're going to park that aside. So there, one is you can start from scratch. Number two is you can buy an existing business, which is a great option for a lot of people because, you have an established brand, you have immediate cash flow, revenue coming in, you have employees, you have kind of a system of doing things. However, sometimes there's a cost to that, right? Because the people that are selling the business have built it up and they want to, capitalize on the business they've built. Or thirdly, it's really franchising. And franchising fits for a lot of people, especially corporate refugees, I find, because maybe they have great corporate experience, they have leadership capabilities, they can manage people well, but maybe they don't have a specific product or service, that they're dying to bring to the world. Right. And so if they don't, they're like, I know I'm an entrepreneur. I just know it down in here, but I don't have that product or service. And so oftentimes, an existing business or the franchise works for them. But that's really the three options outside of going back into the workforce.
Excellent. So for those of you folks that are listening into this cool live webinar on this, if any one of those three are you, I'd love it if you comment in the chat box about that and let us know, right? I'll tell you, Hector and I, we were the number one, right? We're like, yeah, we're going to start a law firm and we're going to do that from the ground up. And what about you? Were you the number one or were you already, what was your history?
I was a number one with a hint of number two in there.
But
what I did is I had the drive, I had the spirit, I had the knowledge, but I did find a small practice to purchase to help grow. So I had something that was set up that had a small client base and so forth, but then I was able to grow on the side. So,
ooh, very good. What about you, Bart?
1, 2, 3. All of them. I've owned franchises. I've started companies from scratch. I've bought companies to hold on to, and then have sold companies too. So it really just depends on the personality, where you are. Obviously in Ann's case, she's got a skill set, right? So she didn't have to think about what product or service she's going to bring. She has this specific knowledge as a CPA. And so there is a product or service in mind. With you all, you're attorneys. So it's a little bit, okay, I've got a product or service I can bring to the world. So I can start from scratch or buy an existing practice. But again, if you're not a CPA or you're not an attorney, then now you're kind of like, well, if I didn't invent something in my garage or have a burning desire to create something, now everything's open to me, right? And so I think that's really interesting.
Oh, I like that. So we just got a question that's just come in for one of the viewers. And Dennis, thank you so much for this question. Bart, I'm going to let you answer this one. It says, so what about the undecided group? Or what if you're all three?
Love it. That's where I love to meet with those people, because my passion is around aspiring entrepreneurs. I like working with entrepreneurs. I work with people that are exiting their businesses, but my passion is around aspiring entrepreneurs. And I see that quite a bit. So I would tell you, he's not alone. Dennis, you're not alone. What I kind of go through a process. I take a business assessment profile. It takes like 5 or 10 minutes. And what it really does, it's not a personality profile. We've seen DISC and some of these other things. What this will take into account is, maybe your background in business or employment. It'll take your values, what you value highly, right? Because if you value freedom highly and flexibility, retail may not be your thing, right? And so we got to pull those values out of what's important to you, what you're good at. Are you good at leadership? Are you good at customer service? Are you R&D technician? So we kind of pull these things out so that we can start looking at specific models that may work for you. So I like to kind of go at it from that angle, as almost an exploratory discovery conversation. Where have you been? Where have you been? And then get to know you. Because would you go to a doctor that diagnoses you in the waiting room, right? It's hard to do. So we got to pull that information out of some people. So great question, Dennis.
Ooh, I like that. That is good. And, Bart, I'm actually familiar with the assessment that you do, because several of our joint friends together that are entrepreneurs and business owners have done it and have found huge value in actually taking that assessment, because they started out going, I don't really know where I fit and where I want to head. And this assessment has really given them some information, concrete information, to make some really good choices and decisions. Bart, how do they get that assessment? If somebody wants to do that assessment, how would they do that with you?
Well, I think within the show here, if you'll say you want it within the comments of the show, Wynn will get us connected. I do have a website. It's on my franchise site. It's impactfranchisebrokers.com. And right on the home screen, you can click on it. It's free. You send it in. You're going to get an email version of it as soon as you click send. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. It's very easy. And then I get a copy, and then I reach out to set up, kind of a meeting like we discussed, and spend 30 minutes to an hour. There's no cost. And it is just a good self-awareness thing as well. I think, what am I really good at? What am I so at? And it just starts the process, really. And then, hey, have you talked to your CPA? Have you talked to an attorney? Where are you at with these things, right? Because I'm not either one of those, but that's the last thing that I am. But kind of helping to find a running lane is where, probably I play more a role.
I love that. So Bart, I'd say you could be that person that can really help mold and figure out, what is it I want to do when I grow up, right?
Yeah.
And what is it I want to do that's going to make me, first of all, a really good living, so I can take care of myself and my family, and it's also going to bring me joy, and it will serve my community.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking too, what are some of the tax implications for 1, 2, or 3?
Yeah, so Anne, do you mind if we bump on over to you right now?
Sure.
So say you've had, this exploratory session with Bart,
Right.
and you now know, this is what I'm good at, and here's my different options in it, and you're deciding now, okay, this is my niche. What do they do with you, Anne? How do you help them?
So what I
know, but what do you do, girl?
what I do is, if they are, number one, just starting out from scratch, I talk to them about, and I educate them on what's the different type of entity choices out there. So if they're going to keep it simple and it's really going to just be a side gig, and they're not going to make enough profit foreseeable in many years to come, then I'll show them on paper how to keep it simple and how to not complicate their lives and not make their head spin. But there are risks involved with picking the right entity choice. So if it's a high risk business, then we want to protect them. We want to show them how to protect them, which would be tying in you guys, the attorney side. I mean, any entity choice needs the attorney side, but some more than others for sure. So if they're buying a business, it's usually stated, they usually take over the same route that the person they're buying it from. 9 times out of 10, that's what they do. So I just educate them on those compliance issues. And then the sky's the limit with franchises. Most of the time, they're pulling in retirement funds to help them with the down payment. And so that's fun. And again, it's compliance, helping them stay in compliance. So it's really education and training.
So, Anne, I remember you started out the session saying that you've got this really cool, easy, simple checklist.
Yes.
How do folks get a hold of that if they want that from you, Anne? And remember, when our producer, she's amazing. She's going to have all of our contact information, of course, in the chat box. There's going to be a link you can click on to get all this stuff. But what is that? How do they get that document from you?
So what they need to do is call my office and schedule a free consultation. And what I do is I go over that checklist. I go over tax reduction strategies, things they need to do each year, and compliance deadlines and forms. And they leave with it. So they come in confused and they leave more confused. Not in a bad way, but they just didn't know what they didn't know. So
Wow.
And there's just information that they can check off and they can ask questions. And it's baby steps. We can take them one step at a time, but things aren't missed. Things aren't forgotten. So,
okay. That brings up a good point, because this is something Hector and I see all the time. In Florida, we are, I would say we're lucky because we have sunbiz.org. And then I think we're really cursed because we have sunbiz.org. And, from our standpoint as business attorneys, what we see a lot of time is people have this false sense of security that all you need to do to form a company is go on sunbiz.org and pay your filing fee, and bada bing, bada boom, you're good. And that is so far from the truth, right? Hector, do you want to talk on that for just a minute?
So what I typically see, I use the analogy of an umbrella. So, people think I've got an umbrella. I need to get to my car. It's raining cats and dogs, or the storm's coming. I can see it, but I've got an umbrella, so I'm good. And I use that analogy with Sunbiz because most of the time people stop right there. They'll incorporate, they'll do their articles, and then they're done. Right. But that umbrella will never open. So they have that false sense of security. And by that, I mean, they don't have an operating agreement if they're an LLC, or bylaws if they're a corporation. They don't have all the formalities that's required to really give you that liability protection.
Can I slow you down just a bit? Mm-hmm. And then for our folks that are watching this that don't know what an operating agreement is or what bylaws are, mm-hmm. Why is that important? Can you share any examples?
So the main thing is you have to have formation. So what an operating agreement is and a bylaw is, they're the same thing, except a bylaw works for corporations and an operating agreement works for an LLC. But what it is it kind of shows the judge, if you're ever sued, that you have a business and you have all the structure of a business and you're keeping it like a business. And what Anne was mentioning earlier too is not having your bank accounts commingled with the business. It's separate. You have an EIN. You can show the court that because the business is being sued, they shouldn't come after my own stuff because it's a separate entity. It's a separate body. And most people stop at Sunbiz by just registering it, but they don't create that separation. And that's where things, or if they do, they make the wrong tax election. They'll do a C Corp instead of an S Corp. And that's
They
where
won't even do an
right.
S corp.
Or, do a partnership when it should have been, different. It's just that's the importance of being able to go to a CPA.
Yes.
Someone that understands entrepreneurs. That's why it's important to talk to a business advisor, someone that can get you where is it that you want to go.
So part of what I'm taking away from this is the relationship that we already have amongst the four of us.
Right.
Is it's like you as the entrepreneur or the corporate refugee or the person that's just figured out, wow, this is my passion. We surround you, right? We're there to protect you. We're there to mentor you. We're doing our job if at the end of 12 months, you've made more money. I mean, that's the bottom line. If you're going to work with an attorney or you're going to work with any of us, our job is that your bottom line has grown, right? So there's real value in what we do. And so we've all worked together and it's really cool. Like, I really like it. Bart, any comments?
No, I think it's great. I think it's just for people to get clarity. And I think this is a great platform that you've pulled together to bring like this information at no cost to people, because if you can go online and if you type something in, there's no, you're going to get run to, advertised sites and people are going to scare you and tell you this, that, and the other thing. So I think there's a real need for what you've provided with this platform to kind of just speak the truth to people and give them their options. And I love it.
Yeah. And so with that, you guys, seriously, if you're listening in and you've got questions, we want to hear from you. I mean, this is your opportunity right now. We're probably getting ready to wrap this up soon, but this is your opportunity to ask any specific questions you have. You've got two experienced attorneys here. You've got an amazing CPA who is very well versed in business. And then you've got the Mandalorian. Bart, would you mind sharing just a little bit of your history as an entrepreneur and what you've done? I don't mean to put you on the spot or embarrass you, but it's pretty dang impressive.
Well, it's just, you live long enough, I guess things will happen for you or to you. But, I was a corporate person for much of my career. I've done side hustles. One of my first side hustles was actually buying a franchise. My father was very interested in a concept. And so I went with him. I was going to be a little bit semi-passive. And so one of my first experiences on doing business was actually buying a franchise, and that worked out. We did some good things there. Since then, I would do another side hustle and kind of ease into it, because I think that's a lot of people, if they think it's all or nothing, it's really then intimidating. And then have, since then, started some companies, started one, and I think I've had 7 at one time, like little companies. I'm not talking, major corporations, but one thing would lead to another and lead to another, and have multiple companies going at one time, all a little bit of a side hustle. And before I knew it, and I think a lot of people find this, your side hustle becomes your day job. And that's a comfortable place to be, because there's not much risk. And so kind of progressed through that, have done consulting through there, and then had a great opportunity at one point in my career to sell my companies to a major, like a multi-billion-dollar company, and got to go through that process. And that was a whole nother process. And something I would tell people today, I never imagined I would have been in that position to do that. But what I'll tell you is the relationship with your CPA that you start on the front side and your legal team, when you build that relationship and they're with you through all these times, they know how you think, they know your situation. And if you're faced with a situation where you have a golden opportunity to sell your companies to a big company, you don't want to go that alone. Like I promise you don't, because big companies will have teams of lawyers and financial people, throughout the wazoo. And if you're sitting on the other side of the table and it's just you, it's not fun. Like it's not. And I've always had, good legal, good CPAs to work with. And that's why I like working with you all. I just encourage people to get started early. You may think you don't need it in the beginning. I'm too small, but you know what? It really does pay to develop that relationship and grow, with your team. And so I ran a long way around the maypole to get there for you, but that's some of the things I've done.
That is so cool. And that brings up for me, the last closing question that I'd like to talk about is, I think 2020 and 2021 is giving us the push maybe that we all need to realize that we need to adapt, right? We've got to adapt to different situations, and maybe having that corporate job, you might have realized, doesn't give you the security that you thought all along that it would. And so you're finding yourself in this position now where, maybe in the beginning it was pretty scary and you didn't know what to do, but you've been able to regroup and realize probably the faith you need to put in is yourself, right? That you can do this. And it's pretty darn exciting knowing that you can. So, Anne, with that in mind, do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to give that group of folks that are finding themselves in this position? And how do you adapt? How do you pivot so that you can be successful?
I think the key is to have the team in place, because nobody has that crystal ball of what the future brings. The COVID crisis brought a lot of opportunity for business owners, also a lot of stimulus and IRS incentives out there. And if somebody didn't have their team in place, they were struggling reading thousands of pages and trying to apply for the incentives. And let's be specific. One of the PPP loans asked for the operating agreement. So I was taking phone calls from people saying, what is this? And I said, well, you need to contact your attorney. Well, I don't have one, but they started a business. So if they have their team in place, the stuff that they're going to be faced with is not scary. It's a phone call away.
Ooh, so good. And thank you, Bart. Any parting words of wisdom that you'd want to give folks that are going down this track?
I would just say, don't overcomplicate it. It is a bit scary. You're having to wrestle with your feelings and emotions, and that's normal. And everybody feels that way. Even, you all probably felt that way. I know I did on certain things. Like, there's a healthy fear of the unknown and going into a direction you've never been before. But, you can overcome it. And if you do the front work like we're talking about and get familiar with it and talk to people that are in the know on certain things, those fears can be little by little moved out of the way and allow you to take that next step. I still think, at the end of the day, more people regret the opportunities or the chances that they didn't take than they regret actually taking a chance at something that would make them happy and satisfy them and maybe be a legacy for their family. So I would say, don't let the fear tie you up. Respect it, and then kind of just go into it as you go into it. But don't wait too long and talk yourself out of it so long, because you'll never get started. And then if that corporate job does dissolve, and you don't have a team, you don't have a thought, you don't have an idea, you don't have any sense of a plan, you don't have great self-awareness, you're stuck at a standstill. And that's a tougher spot to get started. So I'd say take whatever steps and get started a little bit.
I love it, you guys. Another question's come in. So this is from Leslie. Sorry if you answered this already, but do you do business evaluations for business owners? And so, Leslie, there's a couple of different ones that we talked about. Anne's got this really cool assessment that she does where she's looking at with you when you're starting up a business. It's a checklist, right? Have you done these things to keep yourself protected so that you've got good tax strategies and good protection, liability protection? Right.
And Leslie, if you're meaning a business evaluation in that I have a business, I'd like to have someone come in and see if there's a value, what the value, if I sold this business, what would it sell for? And so
that's Bart.
That's what Bart would do.
That's what he does. Yeah.
He's doing that for
and then
client, right?
The other cool part thing that that Bart does that I know firsthand that he does is this assessment. He will do an assessment. It's really pretty painless, but this assessment that you'll do will let you know really where your niche is, right? Like, what is it that you're good at and what are your strengths to be considering when you're going into the business world. So those are a couple of assessments. And then Leslie, for sure, there's a link in the chat box. There'll be one there that you can click on and be able to access, any of us, right? Now, what we do is we do this kind of really cool thing. We absolutely love it, but we'll do this. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it's a lift session that we do with our potential clients. And they've got this idea. They know what they're going to do business-wise. They're getting it going, and they're realizing, oh, snap. What would happen if something goes wrong and I don't know? So we help them, and we look at their legal structure. We look at their insurance structures. We look at their financial structures and their tax strategies to see what does your foundation look like. And then we can help show you if you've got gaps or not. And we're not insurance folks. We are not CPAs. We don't play one on TV. But we know the professionals to get you in touch with. And that's where I was saying earlier, we love working together as a team to surround you, the business owner, to give you the best opportunity for success. So that session we do is no charge. That's a no charge session. But as you can tell, it's probably valued. It's a good value. So I hope that answered your question, Leslie. Anything else we want to close with tonight other than go into the links, click on those because you're going to get some free stuff that should really help you. I think that'll give you some really good starting information. But I'll end with you, Anne, and then Bart. Is there anything you guys want to throw out there before we say goodnight to folks?
Make your phone calls, schedule meetings. They're usually free consultations. You'll get a lot out of it.
Great. Thank you, Bart.
You know what? I've shared so much already that I just say, hey, don't be afraid. Don't let it get the best of you. Reach out to one of us or all of us and let us kind of take you by the hand a little bit and guide you down the path. And look forward to seeing y'all on the other side, on the entrepreneur side of this.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you, Arden, for the very nice words. He said we had a lot of wise sentiments on this. So we're glad
appreciate that
you enjoyed that and saw value.
Yeah, that's great. All right. With that, you guys, we're going to get ready to sign off. And I'm hoping, though, Anne and Bart, that in the future we can do some more segments on this because I think it's needed.
Of course.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Good night, guys. We'll see you and look forward to